Yes. Yes.
Two, one.
Please start, Sheetal.
Namaste to one and all over the world. Today, I welcome you personally from this beautiful campus in our university, Shobhit University in Meerut, which is in the northern part of India called Uttar Pradesh. Today, we have a very special person who has joined us all the way from South California. It is 10:30 p.m. for her in the night and for us 11 a.m. in the morning here in India. So let me just tell you that today is our fifth session of the entire series that we celebrated on this in occasion of International Yoga Festival. It's how to celebrate life through yoga. The first session we had the first Indian who got the Padma Shri in yoga, Dr. Bharat Bhushan ji. The second day we had Dr. Surakshit Goswami, who was the first person who did a PhD in yoga and an MBA in yoga. The third day, we had our own alumnus, Shri Soham Guruji, who was full of smile, music, and he took us through a beautiful session of how to celebrate life through yoga. And the fourth day, we had yet another personality. She joined us all the way from Saudi Arabia. Her name was Noof Marwa. She was again another person who got the fourth highest civilian award, Padma Shri, for introducing yoga in Saudi Arabia. And again, today, which is a concluding session of the entire festival, we have another great global women leader in the field of yoga, and her name is Yoga Acharya Yogini Kaliji, who's joined us right from South California. So I'm going to welcome her, and then soon I'm going to invite our Honorable Chancellor to do a formal welcome before we give the stage to her to take us through the entire theme that we are talking about, celebrating life through yoga. Yogini ji, I am going to welcome you from India. Thank you so much. And you look lovely. The whole setup is so beautiful. And I believe that's your ashram in California.
Yes, this is where we live. Yes.
Great, great. So I'm going to quickly go on to our Honorable Chancellor, Kunwar Shekhar Vijendra sir, who's the co-founder and the chancellor of this massive university called Shobhit University, which is in Meerut right now. He is in the other part of North India, which is in Noida. So he's going to make a formal invitation and formal welcome to you. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everybody, and good evening, Yogini Kaliji. It is indeed an honor for Shobhit University to have you with us today in this concluding session of celebrating life with yoga. 21st of June. From last 7 years, we all are celebrating it as International Yoga Day. 7 years. But this 7-year journey of International Yoga Day, it reminds me of your journey when at the age of 7, you started celebrating life with yoga. So this is such a coincidence that on 7th year of International Yoga Day, we are having a yogini with us who started the same journey at the age of 7 itself. Shobhit University, as Sheetal was mentioning, is a multidisciplinary research-centric university in National Capital Region of India. We are working not only in modern areas of research or academia, not only in niche areas or multidisciplinary areas. As a university, we decided that the ancient Indian wisdom should also be researched. Let the youth should be aware of that. Let the world should know the science behind it. And I was really happy when Soham Guruji introduced you to me. And he told me that the integration of science and spirituality is happening at your place at TriYoga Center, which has been established by you globally. So thank you very much for joining us. The world today, if we look at it, has become so scientific that we have forgotten spirituality. We are looking for music outside. We forgot that there is a rhythm inside, which is permanent, which is every moment we are having a rhythm in the body. We can dance on that rhythm. We can enjoy on that rhythm. We do not need any external music in life to dance, to celebrate. And that's why we decided that Shobhit University, when the world is talking about asanas, pranayam, other things, they are also important, no doubt. But in holistic way, how life can be celebrated with yoga, how yoga can be an integral part of your life, that is very important. And that's why these 5 days we devoted on this theme. I'm sure that tomorrow, when millions of people around the earth, they will be doing asanas, they will be celebrating with divine power of yoga, that celebration will not stop in tomorrow itself. It will continue. And it will continue because people like you, in last 5 days, they spoke about how to celebrate it, how to make it a part of our life. This is what we are looking forward. Let yoga be a part of the whole life. Let yoga be a part of what we are. Because I do not say let us celebrate life with yoga. I say let yoga be my life and let my life be yoga. Because yoga, if we look at in Sanskrit, in Hindi, and I'm aware that once you have read all those Patanjali Sutras and all other scriptures, so you must be aware yoga means to unite, to join. And initially, first, what is required that we unite with ourselves. We have forgotten ourselves and we are trying to unite with everybody else. So let us unite with ourselves. Let us have a union with ourselves, the body and soul, all indriyas, everything has to come together. And I am sure that your session today is going to enlighten the audience. Our audience include not only the student, it includes enthusiastic yogis. It includes research scholars, those who are working on yoga. It includes people like me, those who are willing to know more and more about it, but they are not yogis actually. And it includes people, those who do not know anything about yoga, but those who have a curiosity to know. Thank you very much for joining us from that part. And thank you for spreading the light of ancient wisdom of India, of ancient power of yoga to the world through your wonderful efforts. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, Chancellor, sir. You are always giving us such a great platform to start introducing a speaker. You spoke about she has spread light across. Yes, she's actually has traveled 50 countries where she has spread her yoga, TriYoga. Am I right, Guruji?
Yes, over 50
And
countries.
yeah, and she's got about actually 58 TriYoga centers. And you have about 2,450 yoga teachers who are teaching this new technique, which is called TriYoga, which is, I think, developed by you. So that's something commendable to know the numbers, the kind of teachers that you have created to celebrate this wonderful festival, wonderful tool, which is yoga. So I'm not going to spend much time, but I know that this word three is very significant in your life. Wherever I was reading, whether it is social media, your coverages, the three word played a very important role in your entire description. So I would like to request you to begin telling us the significance of the three word in your life, in TriYoga and Trinity that you are using in your work of spreading ahimsa and things like that. that would, I think, set a right platform to begin. And then you can take us through the journey and towards your presentation that you prepared for our audience today. So I'm going to focus the light on you and welcome you formally to begin the session.
Namaste. Dhanyavad for this invitation. Dear Chancellor, that was a wonderful, inspiring presentation on yoga. It's like you were living what you were saying, and it was so impactful that I just could have kept listening. Truly, it was wonderful. And how fortunate the people are, the students, to come there to study when they can get the full spectrum of knowledge. And of course, as we're speaking of, the source of knowledge. It's been a pleasure, Sheetal, to be able to have this opportunity to have met previously and am planning to be here. I've looked forward to this. And it's, while you were speaking, dear Chancellor, I was inspired to remember something that, of course, should be my opening of my talk, because I would just like to share a few experiences, and then every so often we'll show some slides just for those who are watching, maybe to see like a sutra in that way. It's interesting that I would be, asked for this celebrating life with yoga, and to really be able to celebrate, to really embody what that means. You have to be yoga. And that's who we truly are. That's our universal self. That's our very existence, and not to be that, or to come to this planet and to forget our true nature. Then we did not get to celebrate this wonderful life to the fullest. People celebrate, auspicious days, holy days, birthdays, jayantis. We have many different types. And of course, the more I came to Bharat, over 27 times to India, I found out so many more days are celebrated. It just, because we begin to see that yoga is always. But to have that celebrative feeling, to be able to truly feel that, there has to be, as we see with Shiva, we see Nandi, we see the vehicle of joy, to remind us that to experience our true nature, the vehicle is joy, is happiness. And that quality has to be part of the celebrative feeling. Because it's not a fleeting feeling. It's not like, I'm going to celebrate tonight, and then it's over. It's celebration that, because that is inside you. I remember when I was just in my teenage years, I was even driving, and I remember someone was inviting us to a gathering, like to something to celebrate. I remember distinctly where I was, and I thought, we're going somewhere to celebrate. And suddenly just like a light went on. I was 18 years old. Like, why can't it always be a celebration? Why we can celebrate definitely special days, auspicious days, holy days, but can't we carry that feeling always? And that's what you were speaking about tonight, our respected Chancellor, in your opening talk, that to carry it with us always. Now, how would we define this? Celebrating life with yoga. There has to be this inner quality, this inherent quality of happiness that we would call, on a spiritual level, Ananda. That we experience the real source of bliss, and even involute more to experience the I am bliss to the I am. And becoming united with the Atman and then the Atman Brahm. There's no greater happiness, and everything else is coming through the filters of whatever we've added. We come to yoga and we just begin to peel away, to remove what we don't need. We have to be willing, we have to be wanting to embrace our natural state of joy, of happiness, of celebrating because I am that I am, to understand ourselves, to understand the great meaning of Soham. But to, on our own level here, to just embrace the feelings of gratitude. I am an Atman, a soul. And through the tools of yoga, we can realize it. And the happiness becomes so embracing that our whole life becomes celebrative. And those we come in contact with, you really take on the meaning of what is Leela. What is this divine play? You begin to understand that this is eternal. There's no beginning, there's no end. It's always been going on. And once we come to that understanding, whether we incarnate on the earth or another place, when we come to the understanding that it's eternal, it gives us immediately, hopefully, some deeper understanding that allows us just to be grateful that we are eternal. And to be grateful that yoga gives us this knowledge. Now, India has held in their whole soul, or it has carried this knowledge, this universal knowledge, and waited until really the rest of the world was ready when Swami Vivekananda came to bring the first teaching of it. And since then, since 1893, many yogis have come from India, and many have traveled there to study. And they wouldn't be traveling there to study if it wasn't about true happiness. That's the celebration that all of life can move into that understanding. Now, granted, there are times, like even now, there's a lot of suffering going on, and we're speaking about happiness. So are we now a little clueless of like other suffering that's going on? We're not speaking of the happiness that comes and goes based upon what's taking place. We're speaking of the happiness that's in our heart, it's in our anahata that we feel, that we can define it in many ways. Ananda, joy. But when we feel the celebration, we know we're riding that vehicle of joy. That's why it is said to enter into higher consciousness. Nanda has to be the vehicle, the joy, the celebration, the letting go of worry and fear and negative qualities, that damper, that celebrative feeling. Yoga gives all the tools and the knowledge, and it's also the realization itself that this is an inherent quality. And why wouldn't we celebrate? Why wouldn't we? If we have that understanding of the union of our universal self with the divine, the absolute. So then we have to think, what is holding it back? And that's what yoga gives us, the tools of self-reflection, self-inquiry. It gives us everything that today more people are talking about. How to come into the present moment. How to live a life of service. To really stop and look at our life and see all the things we do have to be grateful about. Starting, we are a universal being. When we start to bring this awareness into our life, we start to feel exactly what we're saying, celebrating life with yoga, and yoga is the celebration of life. Now, when it was 20 years old, and I had always, since a young child, had always wondered about, like, what is all this about? age 7, I began self-inquiry quite strongly. What is it? Like, where was I before I came? And that would give me such feelings of peace that for me, I always felt this comfort inside. I always felt this connection. But when I was 20 years old, I remember going into a room by myself, sitting in a chair. I did not know the word yoga, but I'd always had that nature to look inside. And I asked one question, because the universe is conscious. I do understand that. And I just asked, what is the source of happiness? So that we can, remember I had the experience earlier about why can't it always life be celebrative? I didn't have the answer for it then. So that evening I said, what is the source of happiness? I feel happy. I have a natural inclination toward that. But what is the source of it? It was simple words. And immediately, the most powerful energy rose from the base of the spine. Until that point, I had never heard of Kundalini or any type of awakening that can take place. And immediately the energy moved from the base to the crown with such a blissful feeling, such an extraordinary feeling, that I know now the term I can give it, Ananda, to be able to experience that. And it went on for so many hours that evening. But when I came back into this state, there was definitely a more of a celebrated feeling of life. A shift had taken place. So I could relate to this title of this theme that we have, celebrating life with yoga, because what I had experienced gave such an immense joy and happiness that it permeated in, wow, every moment is special. Every moment's to be celebrated. So then it was soon after that, the journey of yoga began. I realized I wasn't the only one who had experienced a touch of this ocean of bliss, but there was a whole continent I could visit. I would like to just share a few slides that just give a little summary of some ideas. Can we take with the first one? Okay. To celebrate life with yoga, that's what it is the fruit of knowing yourself and live in your dharma. Because we need to really to celebrate life, we have to be full. We have to be who we are. We have to be our true self, our universal self that's living in these three bodies here on this planet Earth. So we need to live our life based on compassion and purpose. It'll be all fulfilling and a celebration throughout life. So these are just thoughts that I wanted to share and write before speaking today. Next, just accompanying the celebrative feeling. True happiness will be the companion. Because how can we truly celebrate if we don't feel the inner source? Not the happiness that's, oh, I got this or I got that, because it will disappear. But the happiness that you feel inside, that's unchangeable, it's always present. And through yoga, it grows, and that leads us to this feeling of life is a celebration of the divine. Okay. If we were to look at our life and to just take today, even, or maybe today it was it's early in the morning there. Let's just take in the week, like how often did one feel joy? Did you feel joyful? Did you feel happy? There's a story that when you go to an Ayurveda doctor, they often would say, how often are you happy a day? How often do you feel joy, laughter in your life? Because that is a sign of health. How many times today did you feel joy and happiness? And how does it compare to when you were a child? If it is not comparable, then what happened? Everything you've done since childhood has been in search for happiness. Now, through the yoga, we can rediscover it. But is one willing to? Because that's the first step, the sankalpa, to want happiness. Yes, I want happiness because it's the natural quality of the soul. Our soul is Sat Chit Ananda. And Ananda, there's many ways we can express that. It's the bliss, the pure happiness that is everlasting. Okay, next. If you notice, as young children, sometimes they get so excited that we have to tell them, calm down. Remember, as a child, we might have gotten so excited they tell us to calm down. Now people are trying to tell us ways to be excited. Well, we ask, why aren't I happy? Why did it disappear? Because see, to celebrate their own life, their existence, this divine Leela, if happiness is lacking, if joy, that vehicle is lacking, then they're not going to be able to feel joyful about life, which is the way we celebrate. We have so many more comforts and conveniences. Since history, look back, we have more than we've ever had, but has it brought us more happiness? Yet depression has entered the minds of millions of people on the planet. They don't know what it's like to be able to even dream that life could be celebrated. It debilitates to the point that one feels complete lack of energy in body and mind. But happiness is experienced as one understands their true nature and the nature of reality. This is the direct path of yoga. The mind remains unmodified from the flow of thoughts. The power of calmness will pervade. It is said there is no greater happiness than the calm lake of the mind that reflects the ultimate divine reality. When we have the mind that it's like a clear lake and reflects the buddhi, which resides in pure discrimination, pure intuition, it's the closest we are then to the next sheath, the closest to the Anandamaya Kosha that reflects this divine reality. Next. We love to go to temples, but why? Well, when we arrive, we feel an ambience. We walk into the room and we feel just like so natural to want to meditate. You start to feel relaxed and calm. Without an effort, one feels how conducive it is for dhyana. In a temple, though, the space is uncluttered. That is the aim, that we just have what we need to focus upon. The same we need to create in our mind. We need to declutter it. We need to remove the negative thoughts and emotions. This is what purifies the mind. Then the body and mind will be like a temple. It'll feel like a sacred place to live. When we have these type of changes inside, we become more feeling a vehicle for this universal consciousness. So the saints would be dancing in the street. They'd be chanting the names, the holy names. They could just sit and not say anything, just their presence, because they were in a state that's synonymous with being celebrative. They had no concern. They only celebrated the pure consciousness that resides in all. They carried the temple always inside. Next. When we look at our lives and we wonder, I don't feel that celebrative energy. So if we find yoga, we find the path that allows us to look inside the mind. Who we are is the manifestation of our desires and thoughts. Over time, when they're repeated, become very deep attachments. But with compassionate thoughts and actions, happiness is felt, joy for life. That's why we want to have a daily practice in meditation, as it provides the tool to look inside. When we look inside, we need to be able to uproot the negative qualities, to be able to look. So yoga teaches us about self-inquiry, to be able to look at everything from the way we eat, the way we breathe, what we think, look at the way the beliefs we hold to be true, and then also to take time to rest inside, to be as quiet, to feel as calm as we can be. But we need to look at we're looking into the mind. It's like a gardener. Yoga teaches us to look inside and remove any of the weeds, such as fear, anger, hatred, because these are the very roots of unhappiness. How can we have a celebrative life in yoga when we still have the impurities in the mind? The emotions are dark. So we need to cultivate the positive qualities that calm the mind. The way we do this is that we enter into the quiet silence of the compassionate, pure mind. The more we live a compassionate life, the more we purify our mind, we experience a quietness inside. Then we can float on this wave of the perfect calm into real happiness. And of course, yoga guides us to the full involution to realize the highest happiness. We merge into the realization of I am. This is again when the yogis, just by their very presence, you will even start to dance and celebrate life. It's contagious. When one lives with the right thought and right action, happiness will be present. It's that easy. How can we feel excited about our life? How can we embody celebration? That means the joy of being present. Right thought, right action. Living a compassionate life always brings greater happiness. And when we support others, happiness through our compassionate example. All of these are ways that contribute to purifying the mind and allowing us to tune more into our joyful self. We know that in the Yoga Sutras, where Patanjali says, how can we calm the mind? And Patanjali would say, be happy for those who are happy. And replace the negative qualities with positive ones. So to achieve lasting happiness, then we need to remove the source of unhappiness. What is the cause of this suffering? What is the dukkha? What are the roots of this unhappiness? Because we need to recognize them, to uproot them. We need to spend time with ourselves. As yoga says, when we prepare, we can calm the breath. We can then begin to examine, to look inside, to find the source, and to understand that sometimes the source is not just in this life, but there might be in situations that allowed us to act it out again. So we might find one source, but after a while we have to just come back here and realize there's a place for self-inquiry, but we also have to be happy to achieve happiness. We have to will it. And so we need to replace the negative qualities with positive ones, starting with being compassionate to ourselves and others. Through yoga, we start, oftentimes, some people will start with their body so they can relax it. Because when they relax it, they can access more energy. And we access more energy, more prana, and we direct it, the mind will calm. In a calm, purified mind, happiness is the inherent quality, the joy of living, the celebration manifested. When we see a negative person, they won't have happiness. They won't be celebrating life. So we need to purify the mind. If we have a negative qualities, understand it. See how we can realize the limitation of it. Affirm what we really want. We want to know ourselves. We want to be ourselves. We want to celebrate the very existence that we are, the Atman. When we were a child, we think back, we thought about all the things we want to be when we grow up. And so many times we labeled our happiness based on that. Did I get a particular grade? Did I get a particular education? Particular support system around me, friends, family, possessions. Now, some of those are needed. It's our dharma to do well. It's our dharma to have certain duties be successful that we perform. But if we're looking at it as our source of happiness, then we might be disappointed. Because we'll soon find, doesn't matter how wealthy we are, doesn't matter how intelligent. We see people so wealthy, so intelligent, we can't say they're celebrating life, we can't say they've discovered the source of happiness. So we know, it's been proven time and time again, that it has to be something else. And that's what yoga teaches. It's inside. We want to perform our duties, our dharma. We want to do well because it's what we're meant to do. But we can't be looking at it that it's going to bring the type of happiness we're speaking. No doubt, it brings some really good physical happiness, some mental happiness. But any of those can be fleeting. And when it's not there, it will bring unhappiness. We can have the most wonderful relationship, but a person suddenly is no more, can bring pain. That's why the yogis say inherent in pleasure is pain. Because the more you enjoy something, when it disappears, the more the opposite will be present. That person forgets about celebration. But if the yogi can rise above the pair of opposites, regardless of what happens, they can experience the real happiness. I remember when I was, again, around first time of meeting someone in the 20s, meeting someone who is said to have a vision, to be able to see beyond today. And sure enough, I can testify so many things that were said all came into manifestation. But the only reason I even listened the first day is because he said, there's something, you're different. It's like 20 years old. Because inside, there's some place that doesn't get really bothered, no matter what happens on the outside. It's strong. And I knew that about me. I knew there was something that just felt that I need to stay centered. And now I can see that that's the doorway in to the place we're speaking of, to discover there's something inside that's beyond. I was always trying to find the words for that as a child. How can I express? That's why yoga is so rich in vocabulary and expression and in wisdom. And it's always guided us that if we seek through all these external means and think that will bring us happiness, we will find that they're fleeting forms of happiness only. They're not permanent. That even though we can enjoy them, we have to understand the yogi knows inside they're impermanent. So that we realize that the blissful nature is the origin of all forms of happiness. Only way we can experience any happiness and feel a little bit celebrative here is because of the source of happiness is behind it all. Next. When we live in this state, in the source of happiness, we feel this celebrative feeling. This joyful yogi sees life as a divine play of consciousness. The yogi is beyond these ups and downs. They don't have to even have one day and say, okay, today I will celebrate. Every moment is. Every moment. They realized that lasting happiness is the grace of who we are. They're living in their universal self. So they understand that's lasting happiness because of who we naturally are. The source of happiness is the quality of our very soul, our very Atman. It is part of the Trinity, Satchidananda. And when I was asked earlier, what does that mean, Satchidananda? And what does the Trinity means? That's what it means, Satchidananda. What is the meaning of TriYoga, Satchidananda? It means the source of true happiness. How did that come to me? I saw in the sky, I saw a vision, I saw a triangle. And I saw and understood that TriYoga is the path and the goal. It's the essence of yoga. It's Sat Chit Ananda. And that's the source of happiness. Next. And that Trinity manifests in all things. And even though we're here and we think, oh, but it's some loftier state. No, because it's like the sun. Its rays filter into every single aspect of our being, from our causal to our subtle to our physical, permeates everything. We can live in this state only based upon who we really are inside. Who have we really connected with? If we've connected with our universal self, when we're here living in this life, you can feel the joy. It's tangible in their presence. Because everything that we are is a result of our desires, our attachments, that we hold dear to our heart. But if we hold yoga dear to our heart, then that results in a celebrative life. We must remember that our thoughts, they create our life. Our life manifests due to the thoughts that have preceded now. everything from before and what we've come to now to be, the thoughts vibrate. And if we get too many thoughts in there, that means we are the thinker. Because intuitive knowledge, it's like a download. It just comes. You have more space inside, place for joy to fill every part of your being. And the divine celebration is in every moment. So we have to realize we're in control completely. Because our life is based upon how we think. Yoga is the control of the thoughts, the thought waves in the mind. And when we control them, we experience the Trinity, Satchit Ananda, the source of happiness. There's no greater celebration than that realization. And when a yogis realize that, or as a yogis move toward that, don't be surprised. You don't see them dancing and can only chant the holy names, only speak the wisdom of the universal mind. Okay. Yoga not only speaks about it, not only theorizes, not only has saints that have experienced it, a full range of various saints, to prove time and time again, if one can, we all can. What a great gift Bharat has given us. So many endless rivers of knowledge. They have given us the practice abhyas for every single part of our personality. They've given something for our physical because it's very challenging. And at times we wish we all were like Ramana Maharshi. He could have pain in his body, he could be crippled, he could be going through cancer, he could be going through surgery. He remained established in the self, complete happiness, complete celebration. In his presence, you could be transformed. We have been given such a practice. We've been given the tools that we can cleanse this body because we may not be with that type of detachment such a yogi had. We can rise to that through practice. It's much easier to be in these higher, loftier states and express and enjoy everything when the body's feeling good. When we get sick, it's like the joy is disappearing. We're consumed by the suffering of the physical. It may not be so easy to remove. So yoga recognizes that, yes, the body can go through these changes, but there's different tools. There's the right diet, the ahimsa diet, the non-harming diet, least harm to our body, definitely, most importantly, no harm to animals, least harm to ecology. It's given tools to know how to welcome the life force in, escort it out through pranayama. It's given us the tools to focus, to concentrate the mind. Can you imagine that gift alone? Science has shown us around 46% of the time. 46% of our time is often spent in a wandering mind, imagination. It could be, even positive, but it's not directed. It's not directed. And that can be a root or cause for unhappiness. Science is showing that we need to focus the mind, not just have a positive mind, but a focused mind, a mind that can easily concentrate, that can absorb into meditation and dissolve into ananda. And experience that source of happiness and return back to the awakened state, but in union with this, and you'll see pure celebration of life manifested through the powers of yoga. Yoga has given us the ability to work, to have practices that cleanse the body and the mind, through the physical, through the subtle, that's our, as I mentioned, increasing our breath, make it long and subtle, to focusing the mind, so that our intellect becomes so sharp. Discrimination is so sharp that now we can start to be a vehicle for the universal wisdom. This is what yoga has given us, the ability to cleanse the body and the mind temple so that we can feel what's inherently inside. We can feel happiness and we can celebrate being yoga. Wisdom and compassion will emerge. It's like a shadow, it's inseparable. So we're living the celebrative life, but it's not about us. We're wisdom in action as we exemplify compassion for all. We must remember we can always change. We may be thinking, oh, this sounds so good, but how could I possibly feel that? I have doubts and worries and concerns. Because yoga, so many have come forth and shown us with their footsteps, with their manifestations, with their celebrative energy. They did it. If they did it, we can do it. We must remember that the mind is in the subtle body. It's subtle and it can change. It changes based upon the individual. What do we really want? Do we want happiness? That's the first step. Do we want to realize ourselves? Do we want to be one with yoga? Yoga is samadhi. Yoga is bliss. So we want to use the wisdom, whatever we've gained, to bring us into the now. You can't celebrate in the past. You can't celebrate in the future, but you can bring the two together in harmony. And you can celebrate in the now as you do your life's mission. We all are here for our own purpose. One is to discover this, to discover our universal self, that it didn't matter what body we incarnated in, where we incarnated, but to remember who we are, and then to align with our life's mission. Happiness will be present. It has been stated throughout yoga that a compassionate being, one who's a giving being, they live a life of happiness. It's like in a bhakti yogi. They're not thinking of themselves. They're just giving. And the wise, they rejoice in giving because it's a vehicle for change. And as we give, like a bhakti, you just see them. They're so happy. They can just chant the divine name. And you see them in such a dancing, celebrative way because there's great power that comes from giving. How can we make this transformation so that we can experience this inner happiness? So that we can celebrate every moment because we're in gratitude of being a ray of the sun. Meditation. It creates us first to relax in the moment, calms the mind. And in this tranquil state, wisdom emerges with its torch. It's like a guiding light. Illumination of the mind reveals the ocean of expansion. The pure happiness is the Ananda of Satchitananda. I am consciousness, knowledge, bliss. This is what we can celebrate, that this is what yoga has given us, the knowledge and the path, so that we can live in full awareness of who we are, in complete union with the divine. How else can we celebrate? We don't want our celebrations to be fleeting. We want to carry that joy with us, that happiness. Because when the time comes and we leave this body and we look back, we don't want to say, oh, I forgot again. We want to remember. We want to make the most use of our life. This is the highest knowledge we have. We need other knowledge because we're on this physical earth. So we need the knowledge that allows us to be useful. Celebration is not just about us. It's taking that divinity, living it, being it, and it shines into the world. If we can share that celebrative feeling, if we can inspire people through the tools of yoga, through the philosophy, through the wisdom of yoga, it's going to add, yes, to our celebration, the way we feel. It's going to enhance everybody that we come in contact with. I'm so happy to be part of this wonderful gathering that we have with the Shobhit University. It's so great that we can put all these rivers of knowledge together, and that there's such a respected chancellor who understands the importance of knowledge. We can take it in more when we have a feeling, peace in our hearts that yoga gives, that when we are joyful, because we can only truly learn what we love. We can learn things, we can know, but to really learn, to be able to share knowledge, then we have to love it. If we want to memorize anything, the more we love it, the easier it comes. So when we can take the cities of yoga, we can take the great gifts of yoga, and we can have that as our first knowledge, all the other rivers of knowledge will be easier to absorb and to excel in. International Yoga Day, we've done it. It's now a national holiday. But from your opening talk, you understand celebrations every moment, and Yoga Day is in every moment. The two go together. It's my great honor to be here and to share a few words to those who were raised in this vast knowledge that shared it with the rest of the world. My deepest congratulations for this successful conference that you have offered, and I'm so happy to be part of it and to get to know you all. Dhanyavad.
Please unmute.
I'm sorry about that. So, Dhanyavad for such a thought-provoking presentation, because when I was going through each and every slide and the way you were explaining, it took me to the entire journey, the search of happiness, right from being a child to an adult to being a professional, and then still searching for that happiness. And I really truly believe what you said, that we are still so far, far away and so entangled in our daily ego, fear, unhappiness, hatred. And I think we really need to embrace. And I also, through your talk, unfolded the TriYoga which you talk about, Sat Chit Anand. So that was such a beautiful flow of presentation, which I'm sure everybody who was listening to you, hearing to you, must have really scanned their life, trying to understand what is the search for happiness. So,
Yes.
after such a beautiful conversation, I would like to ask you one question. Like during today, in the current time, everybody is talking about suffering, and then we are talking about celebration of life. The entire presentation did give us a lot of tools and insight on how one can be happy. But at the normal level, at the surface level, we are still finding that challenge to celebrate life, to be happy, especially during this time of, when pandemic is happening, everybody is suffering. So can you give us an insight to a person who thinks that I'm still suffering, and how can I be still happy?
That is a wonderful question, and that's why during my talk I mentioned that here we're speaking of happiness, right? And there's so much suffering going on, especially right now in our own time period. But that we're not speaking of the same type of happiness. We're speaking of what we're speaking of is because of our connection with our true nature, and that is an unchangeable experience. And we're speaking of suffering going on in daily life. No doubt, at this time period, we come in contact, we hear, we know what's going on. This is something different. We're not going to be happy in the midst of speaking with someone and hearing of their sad story, or maybe ourselves have to go through. That's a different type of happiness. That's like happy and I'm not. It's a different. So what we're speaking of is a happiness that is based upon an enlightened state. It's by coming in contact with our true nature. So now, separate from this, the more that we can take the tools of yoga and more that we can apply them, we gain more understanding of our true nature and more in tune with this inner happiness of Ananda. So when we come back into our daily life, we be more like channels. We can be more in having intuitive knowledge to be able to be of help in the times of suffering for people, and to have the empathy. We'll be there, but it won't change deep inside. We may feel it in the moment for sure, but somewhere deep inside, we have a surrender to the divine. So at this time, people are going through suffering and they're unhappy. That's understandable, completely. We're not, someone leaves their body, of course, there's sadness. We're not talking about that type of feeling. We're speaking of just when we become into like Ramana Maharshi, when his cow left the body, tear came down. But he was able to stay in a particular state of awareness and consciousness. So yes, at this time of suffering, and we're speaking of happiness, we understand that people need to go through what they're going through, but to believe and have faith that inside there is an unchangeable state that one can reach and can be in harmony with and union with. And that is our goal of our existence. But we definitely share the compassion and do what we can to be a true service to those in need.
Thank you for that answer. And I'm sure the inner divinity, the inner connection is something that we really need to understand and try and work on that connectivity with ourselves. Now,
Yes.
Guruji, we are an educational institute, and in one of your slides, you also mentioned searching happiness through education. Now, of course, yoga is a science-based research. It's a science-based studies. We have a lot of students who are currently pursuing this course through this university. So you, as a Guruji, a world global leader who has so many different centers across the world, you are also covered by one of the books where it talks about the secret behind inspirational women. Now, I know the secret behind it, but would you like to enlighten our students, our Shobhitian students who are actually currently pursuing this course, who would like to pursue this course in the future? What is the message? How do they pursue this course? Would you like to enlighten our students?
Well, first I want to say the students, it's so fortunate that they can come and be educated, because we need two forms of knowledge. And it's rare to find a place that has two forms of it. You need you need the sciences, you need the knowledge, you need the technology, you need the knowledge of today. And we need to do the best we can in absorbing it so it can be useful in society. We also need the knowledge of who we are, because the more we know who we are, the more we're going to enhance everything. We're going to become more interested. Some people think, oh, if I turn into meditation, I'll lose my interest, I'll become detached. No, you realize Dharma, you realize we're here to be of service. The deeper you go in, the more you realize that, and knowledge is a vehicle for that. So they work together, and students therefore, they have both opportunity. They have both opportunities, and that will give them full knowledge. And that should give them inspiration to know that when more you know yourself, meaning the mind calms, you'll have a better concentration, better memory. You'll have more zeal, more excitement for life. That celebrative feeling, you'll be in marveling of all the divine knowledge, how so many rivers of knowledge, and you won't even start to see a separation. It's all knowledge. And it's all knowledge. And we need math, we need science, we need these knowledges. We need this, we need the medical, we need it all. So it all comes together. We need to know ourselves, and then we can truly take this knowledge and put it into practice by being pure karma yogis with it.
Absolutely. So we do have a lot of students who are live with us, who are listening to you. And I really hope that everybody has taken a lot of takeaways from your session and apply. The whole idea is to apply in a day-to-day and practical life. It was such a beautiful session, Guruji. And I'm going to now pass the focus to our Chancellor, sir, to give a concluding note for this wonderful session we've had. I don't feel like leaving you, to be very honest, but then we also have to see the time. So, Chancellor, sir, over to you to do a concluding remark.
Thank you very much, Sheetal, again. And thank you very much, Yogini Kaliji. Thank you very much. It was such a wonderful, meaningful,
Totally.
full of wisdom, thoughtful presentation that we all are enlightened.
Dhanyavad.
TriYoga, when you were talking about it, for me, TriYoga had always been Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh.
Same thing.
Brahma,
Exactly.
the
Same
creator,
thing.
Vishnu, the integrator, Shiva, the disruptor, all are somewhere inside us, as we
Yes.
say, Aham Brahmasmi. In today's world, consciousness, compassion, and gratitude. These are all those three devas, three murtis, three yogas that if we have in us, the life will become a celebration. And
Yes.
you have given that message so beautifully that I am sure that those who are looking a reason, those who are willing to find a way that how to celebrate life, they must be knowing how to celebrate life.
Yes.
Because from Adi Yogi to Mahayogi, from Adi Yogi Shiva to Mahayogi Krishna, everything you were talking about, it was such a wonderful and pleasant presentation indeed. Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to meet you sometime soon, maybe
Yeah.
in Purnia or maybe in Delhi. So
Yeah.
anytime soon we will be meeting. Please take care and stay blessed and continue blessing the world with all your smile, with all your celebrations, with all your wisdom, compassion, and gratitude. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Beautiful.
you. Thank you, Yogini Kaliji.
Beautiful. I would look so forward to when I come on my next time to be able to meet, because I have been telling people when I travel again, my very first place, where I'm coming is to India. I can't wait.
Yeah. And hopefully that will be our campus, and all our students will be honored to interact with you.
Wonderful.
So, thank you. So, for all our viewers, for all our audiences who've been live with us and have been a part of this wonderful 5-day celebration, has seen how different global leaders, different yoga gurus has given us the same base but in different perspective how to celebrate life through yoga. Today is a concluding 5th session of the entire festival of the 5 days. Although tomorrow is the 7th International Yoga Day, we do have a certain small celebration in our own campus in Meerut. Of course, we're going to keep in mind the social distancing and things like that. But today we conclude our fifth session, the fifth day, the 5-day celebration of yoga, celebrating yoga through life. So I'm going to say namaste and I'm going to take your leave and I'm going to say bye to everybody. Hopefully, we will meet soon with yet another interesting theme like celebrating life through yoga, not just yoga asanas or pranayam and things like that on a very, very deeper level. So I'm going to say thank you to our Honorable Chancellor, Sir Shekhar Vijendra Sarji, for giving us this platform to create this wonderful theme. He was deeply involved and he's a very passionate person when it comes to education. He's a very passionate person when it comes to talking about yoga, not on a surface level at all, on a very deeper spiritual level. So we are very blessed to have him to give us all our guidance and support. So with that note, I'm going to say bye to everybody. Thank you, Guruji, Acharya, Yogini, Kaliji for joining us from California. Thank you all the audience, viewers for joining us from around the world. Have a great International Yoga Day tomorrow. And remember, happiness is in every moment, and make up your mind to be happy and enjoy the traffic jam of life. So thank you so much.